welcome back to the class, everyone. We just got the confirmation for the requirements for the legendary Bo-Katan coming up, and needless to say, they're a little bit different than what we had anticipated, and there's one that I'm really excited about. So this news just did literally drop, and this actually is confirmation. This is no longer speculation. We're only going to need a total of 4 characters to be able to complete the epic confrontation for Bo-Katan, a new legendary that's going to be coming out. And we already have one of them, which is Beskar Armor Mandalorian at Relic 7. He's already in the game. Most of us sort of already had access to him for a very long time. He will be required. Pass Vizsla at Relic 7, which we kind of knew that was going to happen just because they mentioned it when he was released. And the 2 brand new characters that are going to be needed for this event are IG-12 and Grogu, which this one honestly makes a little bit of sense. We actually talked about this a little bit because it was somewhat of an iconic character of Grogu being inside of IG-11 and being able to control him. This is going to create a really unique character from a faction tag point of view, because if they want, they can make him Ufu droid, which would be very odd but fitting, and they'd have to blur a little bit of lines, but they can even make him Mandalorian on top of all that, which just for a very odd but interesting combination. And then the last one, I don't think anybody saw this coming at all, because he has no interaction with Bo-Katan herself, but is Kellerong Beck. And for those of you who don't know who this is the one and only Ahmed Best. And for those of you who don't know, Jedi that appeared in Mandalorian Season 3, the one who is responsible for Grogu surviving Order 66, and more importantly, this is Jar Jar Binks' voice actor. So someone who's very near and dear to my heart. Many of you know my favorite movie of all of Star Wars, maybe in general, is The Phantom Menace. Yes, that's right. I grew up with the prequels, and Jar Jar had a pretty great impact on me. I thought he was hilarious, and getting to see this actor not only come back and reprise a newer and very cool role as a Jedi Master, but now even getting to have him in game is pretty darn great. And for those of you who are wondering, I've already been asked this, I think 3 times on Discord so far. This is not actually, fortunately or unfortunately, going to be able to take precedent for using my Jar Jar fund. For those who aren't aware, I try to keep my crystals somewhere around the range of 30,000. Specifically, if Jar Jar ever comes in the game, I could fake whale out on him or whatever to be able to get him. So we're going to be farming him as we do everything else as normal, and kind of slow farming. So I do want to talk a little bit, not necessarily about the event. The event's pretty clear as to how things are going to shift out. We're going to need all those characters at Relic 7. But I want to talk about the place of these 2 characters in the game. Because when CG, normally, when they release a new marquee or whatever character, they have a specific home for them in mind and what they're going to do. Now, IG-11 is probably going to be is going to translate pretty easily into the game. Like I said, he has 3 major factions that he could be a part of, probably leaning towards more so the Ufu or droid side. He might be able to come in and help really lift up the sortie team even farther than Lobot already has. That sortie team is kind of a revolving door for a lot of droids. While we do have a lot of droids coming in, we also have a lot of droids coming out. I mean, CR2 is one of the clearest examples for that. He fits really well into the team, but he gets chopped out pretty quickly for Leia. The other place that he could go as a Mandalorian would be in the new Bo-Katan team, because as we've seen, we're not getting Axe, at least right now, and we're not getting any other light side Mandalorians. And light side Mandalorians, there's not that many of them. Like, what we have, we will barely be able to make the new team. So we have Paz Vizsla, we have Beskar Armor, we have our good friend Mandalorian here, we have Armor, and then I guess we kind of have Sabine and the other Mandalorian. So we really only have 5 characters in general. So Beskar Mando himself and Armor, they can really never be taken out of the comp if we don't have one thing to flex in there. And I guess CG has done that before, where they tell you that, you know, these are your 5 characters, but most teams typically even have like one flex. Like 501st can occasionally steal Ahsoka. Phoenix have 1 or 2 extra characters they can kind of swap out. Even the Inquisitors, a fairly new faction, they have about 7 different members to choose from. While a lot of them are locks, there is a little bit of variance between the others. So I wouldn't be entirely surprised if that's where he goes, but ultimately he could even be on an Ufu team. We know that Grogu is very much force sensitive. That was seen quite a lot in all 3 of the Mandalorian seasons. And on top of that, he has essentially unaligned himself, at least the version we're seeing now, has unaligned himself from the Jedi. Seen at the end of, I think it was actually Book of Boba Fett, it wasn't even the Mandalorian. He chooses specifically not to become a Jedi apprentice of Luke, but chooses to go back with his dad, aka our good friend Mando, and kind of live out that life. So he could go in any one of those teams. I'm okay with all of them. I'm just waiting for CG to come out with his basic to be yes, yes, and his special to be no, no, or something like that. And maybe he will get specific synergy that lines up with Beskar armor so that he can filter into that new legendary Bo-Katan team. Or again, maybe he'll just be completely outside of it, or maybe we end up throwing him on a Seer team as an UFO. But what I do want to also talk about is the new Jedi coming in, which is Belleron Keck, is that his actual name? I forget how to actually pronounce it. Or no, Kelleron Beck. Okay, kind of got confused there. And I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do with them. And Jedi have become such a funny subject recently because we keep getting more. We can always take more. And the teams of how they work, they tend to be very flexible. But he is really, I think, two things we were going to have confirmed. He is not only a Jedi, but he's also with the Galactic Republic. That's how he was at Order 66 saving Grogu. And what I would like from my, I guess, vision would be for him to specifically synergize with Galactic Republic Jedi that currently don't have a home, and even further than that, in TW. Because right now, when it comes to GAC, we can actually make 3 or 4 full Jedi teams that are good because they are able to lean specifically on the Qui-Gon Jinn Omicron, which, as many of you know, is specific to GAC. It is a great leadership. It helps them punch up. It's lost a little bit of its luster on defense, but it's a very fun offense comp because a lot of times the AI is really dumb and they really don't know what they're doing. But what we're lacking right now is a way to use a 3rd or 4th Jedi team if you want to in TW. A lot of places that's not really necessary because you need less teams in general, but I think it would be a cool addition. And gosh, I don't know how CG would have to do the wording for these for Kelleron Beck, but make these Jedi like these Jedi Council Jedi. Maybe he was in the Jedi Council. I guess I can actually check that, but make these Jedi good. Like, they are just bad at everything. Like, these 3 specifically, I realize there's other Jedi out there that could use a little bit of love, but even like Plo Koon isn't that bad. He has a nice dispel and basic, he has turn meter, his ship is very good, but like looking at these 3 specifically, they are just hot garbage. They are good pretty much nowhere, especially when we start to compare them to the other Jedi. We have like Jedi Knight Luke, Cal Kestis, who is a very new member on the scene. I mean, I guess Jedi Knight Guardian's also not super great. But for the most part, Jolie, Ahsoka, Barriss, Hoda, Jonah, Anakin, they all have definitive places, whereas these Jedi really lack. And I would like to see them be able to work in a place, even if it's only specifically in TW or outside of it. I don't think the Kelleron Beck would be another lifter for JMK, although I guess that's kind of possible. But overall, I am very excited to see where they go, and just to have both of them in game, I think will be really fun. And then there are also going to be requirements for Bo-Katan for this new light side Mandalorian team that we are going to see eventually. But that is going to be it, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are, what you're excited for, where you think these new characters are going to kind of fit into the mold other than the legendary event itself. And until the next time, stay awesome.